After setting out to actually go on to determine the main difference between what makes people successful in life and otherwise, Napoleon Hill comes to a conclusion that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can actually achieve. And that is true because the mind is the ultimate initiator of all good and bad, and the body is simply an execution tool. And so the main difference between the top 1% and the bottom 99% is not the amount of money or the assets that the top 1% actually control, but instead it is their mindset, their paradigm, and their beliefs, what they actually believe is possible, that actually sets them ahead of the bottom 99%. And so in this video, we'll be breaking down the things that you need to know and the things that you need to do in order to pursue your goals and then become successful in life. The first thing that actually sets the top 1% away from any other group of people is that they believe in delayed gratification and not instant gratification. So what that simply means is that they believe that if only they stay consistent for a very long time, they're likely to see whatever goal or whatever thing that they set their minds on to achieve. And that is what James Clear calls the law of the aggregation of marginal gains. So he simply believes that if you're able to improve 1% at every single time over the years, or probably after a 12-month period, you're likely to see a 37% increase in whatever thing that you're doing. So the rich believe in one thing, and that is consistency and then making small and marginal gains along the line. Instant gratification has let so many people down. And so you see several people online selling courses promising X amount of returns over the shortest possible time. Put this amount of money here, and then you're likely to earn X amount of money in the shortest possible time, in 24 hours, in a week, and all that. The rich people don't believe in those things. They believe that if you're to build wealth over the long run, you're likely to succeed, as opposed to chasing, shortest possible gains and then losing everything that you've worked so hard for. This brings us to the second point, which is that rich people tend to embrace extreme ownership. And that can be explained simply by the locus of control concept. And what that simply means is that anyone with the internal locus of control tend to attribute success and then failure to internal factors like their skill set, their talents, or their abilities, or any experience that they've gained in the past. However, on the other hand, anyone with external locus of control tend to attribute success and failure to external factors like the environment or the government, and we've heard it and seen it on countless occasions. There's always that friend, that colleague at work, or that family member that would always attribute their financial success or delays or any form of difficulty or challenges to no other person than the government, the environment, experiences in the past, their parents. They will blame every single person out there by themselves. That is what actually sets the top 1% ahead of the bottom 99%. Anytime that anything bad happens in the life of any rich person out there, they tend to attribute those things to themselves. So what happened? How can I go on to get it right this time? And what should I do? What should I not do? They question themselves and then position themselves, picking up the pieces from where they actually left off, and then actually going on to build a formidable front to pursue whatever goal that they actually set in their minds to achieve. However, on the other hand, poor people tend to attribute anything bad to the government, to the weather, and to all the other environmental factors, as opposed to them actually sitting down to assess their finances or learning things about finance or going on to actually achieve any skill that would eventually help them towards the attainment of their goals in life. This brings us to the third point, which is that rich people or the ultra rich actually tend to seek discomfort. So they know that comfort is the single greatest enemy to progress. And so what they tend to do is that they try as much as possible to take on risk. Now, at this point, it isn't as if they are, used to risk or they cannot be risk averse. There are so many rich people out there who are risk averse. However, what they do is that they take calculated risk. So the risk doesn't stop them. It actually encourages them to be cautious and to actually employ the services of people with specialized knowledge or experience in that particular field that they want to venture into. And that really helps them. What you need to know is that poor people actually tend to shy away from risk altogether. Anything that is likely to put them in the slightest discomfort is something that they wouldn't on any day actually attribute themselves to or actually go any closer to. That is what actually sets the bottom 99% away from the top 1%. A typical example of this is Elon Musk. After selling his stake in PayPal, he actually went on to reinvest a whole $180 million into SpaceX and Tesla. Now, what you need to know is that anytime that you put yourself into some form of discomfort, the body actually adjusts to it. So you grow or you gain that skill set or that experience that is required for you to actually go on and then pursue your goals. So there's a concept known as the Goldilocks rule, which actually goes on to say that before anyone goes on to achieve anything great in life, they set goals that are actually outside their comfort zone. And so they don't set goals that are easy for them to achieve or goals that are within reach in their comfort zone. They step outside of their comfort zone and then commit so much resources, time, and then skill set in the pursuit and the subsequent attainment of their goal. This brings us to the fourth point, which is leverage. The ultra rich actually appreciate the importance and the need to leverage their assets or their skill set in order to achieve their goals. Now, poor people tend to focus on themselves and their experience or the resources at their disposal. What rich people tend to do is that they fall on the experience, the skill set, the resources, and the knowledge of other people in the pursuit of their goals. So, for instance, someone like Elon Musk himself, like I always say, is not an engineer. However, he's recruited one of the best engineers in the world to launch several space travels over the years. And it's easier for him to do that simply because he's counting on the specialized knowledge or the abilities of these engineers in the pursuit of his goal, which is to make space travel much more efficient and effective for mankind. It's easier for you to fall on the knowledge and the expertise of other people. However, rich people tend to adopt that whilst poor people tend to shy away altogether from it. For example, when I started this YouTube channel, I didn't know anything about video editing. So I went on freelancing apps like Fiverr and Upwork, and they were the ones that were initially editing my videos and doing all the B-rolls and all that for me. But now I've also gone on to learn something, and so I edit my videos and everything. But starting out, what you need to know is that you may have to count on the experience or fall back on the knowledge, the expertise, and the talents of other people in order for you to become successful in life. This brings us to the fifth point, which is that you choose your circle wisely, or you surround yourself with people that are likely to have a positive impact on you. Now, Warren Buffett goes on to advise that the best decision that you can ever make in life is your partner. That is to talk about your life partner in the case of your spouse or your business partners. Now, he was lucky to come across Charlie Munger, Gottesman, and all those people in his team that were skilled enough to help him to build Berkshire Hathaway, a company that is valued in hundreds of billions as it stands now. Now, he was so lucky. What you need to know is that anytime that you hang around with people, they are likely to have so much influence on you. Of course, you've heard this phrase that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and that is true. Also, research has gone on to show that if you spend more time with people who are obese, you increase your chances of becoming obese. Also, on the other hand, if you spend more time with people who are healthy and fit, you're also likely to become healthy and fit in the long run. So it goes on to tell you that you need to fall back on this advice and then try as much as possible to focus on people that can help you, challenge you to elevate yourself and to become better than who you currently are. That is how the ultra rich actually tend to stay away and to stay ahead of the 99%. This brings us to the last point, which is that the ultra rich have the no matter what mindset. And so what they actually convince themselves is that no matter what happens, they will never give up on their goals. And that is what Napoleon Hill calls the principle of applied faith. So what he simply believes is that you need to be obsessed with your goals and you need to have a strong desire to pursue that goal, that come what may, no matter whatever tempest, no matter what the obstacles or whatever the setbacks are, you would actually sail through and then pursue and achieve that goal. Now, what you need to know is that all the rich people out there, all the most successful people out there in life actually went through their own go through. They were faced with so much challenges and the difficulties and everything, but yet still they were able to become successful. Think about it. For example, Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV show, and then she went on to build the most successful show in US history. And that actually has made her a multi-billionaire. What you need to know is that life generally wouldn't present you with things that you actually set out to achieve on the easiest or the silver platter, if I'm to put it right. It would actually be challenging, but you need to stay true to your goals, stay loyal to your goals, pursue every single thing that you set your mind to, and then try as much as possible to convince yourself that irrespective of whatever that would happen in life or whatever people would say, you still sail through, go on, and then become successful in life. Colonel Sanders had to fail for over 1,000 times before KFC was able to take off. Now, in a like manner, Thomas Edison had to fail for like 10,000 times before he was able to invent the light bulb. What you need to know is that it isn't easy to pursue and then achieve that goal. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And that is why I'm rooting for you. And I know that you will succeed with the discipline and the consistency. I know and I believe that this video has served a purpose for you. Now, at this point, I humbly plead with you to like or subscribe to the channel because I'll be sharing several tips like these in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.